Welcome to the City Manager's Report. I'm your host, Jill Fraley, joined by, as always, Pikeville City Manager Donovan Blackburn, as we discuss many topics in and around the Pikeville City area. Many great things going on. Good day to you, sir.
Good day to you, Jill. Glad to be here again.
As always, we always have such interesting, wonderful things to talk about, the growth and economic development of our city. Today is going to be no different. We are taping this show on the 5th of July, so it's the day after the 4th. We have had some tremendously hot days. We want to talk about and give a little love, as you say, to Paul Maynard, the fire department, everybody involved with these cooling centers that have been around our area, and also phenomenal night in the park last night. City fireworks, a big day for families to come together. Tell me your thoughts.
Well, where do you start, Jill? Again, there is a lot going on in the city, and of course last night the festivities and seeing all the people downtown enjoying themselves was just absolutely breathtaking, enjoyable, and what it's all about, really, quality of life. But as you said, we've gone through some very unique events last week. Storm events have been like I've never seen in my lifetime, I believe. One day of nothing but a unbelievable windstorm of 70 and 80 mile per hour winds. On top of that, the next day, a massive rainstorm with hail. And then on top of that, 105 to 106 degree heat.
It has been unbelievable what we've gone through, like you said, in just a few days, and power outages all over.
Yes.
It's been a tough time.
It has been. I know AEP has called in a bunch of workers. I spoke with Brad Hall, who now works for AEP, last week, and they have been using some city property to merge in the morning to have their, I guess, meetings before they send out. But I know there is obviously still people in Pike County without power, and hopefully they'll have that restored very soon. But and things like this, it's hard to prepare for. You do the best you can from our standpoint, and you hope for the best. But you can't really deal with heat, regardless of whether you've got, there's a lot of folks out there that still have window units, and there's a lot of folks that actually have no air conditioning at all in this day and age. But there's, children and especially the elderly at risk, and the county, and as you said, Paul Maynard with City Emergency Management, Doug Tackett, the county judge and staff in the city, I think did an excellent job at opening up these cooling centers.
I had never heard of cooling centers before until Paul came up and spoke to us one morning on our morning shows, and I thought, what a remarkable effort and place for people to come and just get a little bit of a break.
I mean, obviously it is. I mean, when you're sitting in 105 degrees sweltering heat and you're indoors, especially, usually the temperature goes even higher. There was a lot of tips that we put out to both the county and the city to try to tell people what to do and staying hydrated and go to the lowest room and a lot of other little tidbits. But on top of that, it still doesn't get you out of the heat, and you still need relief. And we had, of course, opened the fire department training room up as a cooling center from 10 until 6. Paul Maynard, Ramona, who works for the city police department, manned it, and we got the word out, obviously using local media, which did a phenomenal job educating folks that these facilities are available. But we had, I think, anywhere between 100 a day to, I think it ranged for the 4 or 5 days we did it, between 50 to 100 a day. So there was a lot of folks that did take advantage of it. They came in and got hydrated. Some stayed a longer period of time. Some just wanted to get a little relief and then got back in their vehicle and went back home. So we're glad that we were able to offer it, but going above and beyond that, we're glad that we have people like Doug Tackett and Paul Maynard that are out there making sure that public safety is a top priority.
One other thing that the Pikeville City Pool did is that they opened and waived the fee for people to come into the pool on those extremely hot days last weekend. And I thought, again, another great effort from one of our city facilities, recognizing that people need a place to cool off.
Absolutely. Again, we've got a great partnership with the YMCA, and in partnership again with ensuring that there was relief out there, because this is, I won't say unprecedented. I don't remember or recall that many days with 100+ degree heat. And then on top of that, as we said, I actually was up at the I'm giggling, not just kind of recalling, I guess, that what happened. But my wife and I went camping, and just to get a day or two away, and was up at the Breaks when the windstorm hit, and and it hit with fury. Again, sustained 70, 80 mile per hour winds. But having an RV with an awning out when you get hit with an 80-mile-per-hour wind is not a fun experience, I can tell you.
It is not.
We had our camper rocked violently, and trees were snapping all around us. My wife and I actually laid on the rails of the awning to try to keep it down, but it was 20 minutes of sustained winds that would not die down, and a lot of unfortunate trees occurred throughout the county because of that, and the power company is working as hard as they can to try to get power restored to the area.
You were camping. That was Friday night, and I was actually in the Phelps community and got to witness 80, 85 mile an hour winds. I had never seen anything like that, and at that point I thought this must be what a mild tornado is like, because you just saw awnings. A friend of mine had a tree go through her windshield, and then another friend of mine, there was a massive tree that had been in their front yard for years and years and years, was standing there perfectly fine. You'd think a big strong tree, and it just literally fell over like a stick, and the entire ground around it came up because it was so dry.
Well, and that's exactly what happened. Coming out of the breaks, it looked like a war zone. The trees were down everywhere.
Same thing in Phelps.
And we had everything from power lines down to poles that snapped to on a hurricane, a roof actually blew off a home. So I mean, there was a lot of devastation through that, and then and I thought the most unique part of it is it didn't rain during the windstorm.
Not a drop.
Not one drop.
Not a drop.
So that was very unique. But and then of course with the heavy rains, and we had flooding, which we'll cover here in a minute. I want to talk a little bit about stormwater and storm drainage, because there's a lot of misperceptions out there, and I'd like to take this opportunity maybe to help educate some folks on some things they need to be aware of. But the other point that you brought up was the fire works, and again, as I said before we started taping, I want to show the love.
Yeah.
The fire department, again, they do absolutely. They get tickled at this word. Phenomenal job. I use it frequently. I've been doing this now for almost 9 years, and every year I get on the radio and tell them they do a phenomenal job. So the police department likes to rib the fire department because they're phenomenal.
Right. They are.
They are. And we've got great departments. The police department did an outstanding job patrolling the area last night. We had no incidents. We had a absolutely spectacular fireworks. The show was great. They did a little different trajectory, I guess, in the sense of how they were shooting this. If you notice, they went the area they went up higher, and they actually went up further. They had some larger shells that they shot this year as well. So it was a great event. Of course, the band in the park, and I talked to Judge Mullins. Ran into him the day before out eating, and he was real excited because he was going to play a few extra things that he hasn't done before. Judge Mullins, Darrell does a great job, always does, him and his group. So we're always blessed to have him as part of our festivities. And then again, the free food and all the events and the festivities going on in the park. The park was absolutely packed. We had this great radio station and personalities there broadcasting and taking care of business.
And playing cornhole.
Cornhole.
I won, by the way.
I was going to say, I understand you did quite well.
My teammate and I, David Brandon, we actually won. We beat Keith Casebolt and Andrew Joyce. And I asked Keith at the end, I said, so do we get anything for this? I mean, what's the trophy? What's the prize? He said, isn't the gloating enough? And I said, you know what, it is. It's perfectly fine. Great reward. But it was a good time. And what I loved is that the waterworks stations that were there for the kids, what fun to see those kids running through those water stations. I mean, it was so nice. I kind of wanted to run through them myself.
Well, Jesse had come to me, our tourism director, and said that that we like to do this, and of course the heat, it was appropriate. So again, we've got great partnerships with many. Waterworks does a phenomenal job with us on many different, and I'll leave somebody out. I'm not going to go down the whole list of who in fear of that I will leave somebody out. But we do have great partners in the community that allows us to do not only the things that the police department, fire department, and city employees do, but also there's a lot of businesses and organizations that we deal with that allows us to step up and do this. And of course, this is really fantastic because the night before, the city of Coal Run had their fireworks.
That I heard it was wonderful. I did not get to see it, but it was great.
Well, unfortunately, I heard the same. It was a fantastic event. Unfortunately, I missed it as well. I was actually at Jenny Wiley watching their production of Grease. So I missed Coal Run's fire works. Excuse me. But I did have the opportunity, however, this previous weekend to see the fireworks up at the Fish Trap that the Millard Volunteer Fire Department put on. So to see the fireworks, my father-in-law owns a pontoon, so we went out and sat on the pontoon, and again, the Fish Trap was absolutely packed wall to wall with people. They had the inflatables. The City of Pikeville participated. We brought our airboat up for display. And they put on a spectacular show as well. So it was a little different twist and flair being over the water, seeing fireworks as well. So there's just so many things that we're going to talk about here in a little bit also that this community is doing to come together. And we'll talk about tourism, the city and county tourism issue here in a little bit also, just to give some folks some update. So a lot of great things going on, and we're just absolutely ecstatic and excited to be part of.
Seems like every week that we meet to speak, there always something bigger and better going to happen, and looking on down the road, it's an exciting time for Pikeville and for Pike County too. We have so many different things going on that people can take advantage of, and that's a good thing.
Well, Jill, I go back to, and I know we've talked about this in the past, but I think it's very important. In 2005, the city did our first comprehensive plan in many years. By the way, we actually got a grant that we're updating our plan now. The grant came through last week, an EDA grant. So we're going to be doing a updated comprehensive plan, which I'm really excited about, because our current comprehensive plan, we've accomplished about 90% of that plan, and we need to move forward. But part of that plan again talks about tourism, talks about quality of life, and again, I credit this city, the mayor and the commission has done an absolutely phenomenal job at focusing in on what we can do to improve the quality of life for our citizens, and creating partnerships. As I said, it's not just about me, it's about our partnership with Pike County Tourism and the Fiscal Court and many other things that we'll talk about here in a little bit. But we have been able to, the vision was to have an event from Hillbilly Days through October every weekend in our community, to bring people together, to give them not only things to do, but also to help the local economy, because when people come downtown for 4th of July, yes, they took part on our free hot dogs or soda, but they typically come in and they eat at pizza, or they go to get a hamburger or stop in a restaurant, and they get gas and they do their shopping. So it does have a tremendous economic advantage to it too. But more important, it allows our kids and youth to come out and just to have a good time. And I agree with you. I mean, all the things that's going around the Artist Collaborative Theater, and again the play, the Tuna.
Theater Tuna.
Yeah, thank you. I never, for some reason, it won't stick in my head. But I am so excited. They're getting ready to do their production. I hear it's absolutely hilarious. So I'm really excited to go and see their production. Probably going to go next week. And again, with Grease and all the things going on at the Breaks and at Jenny Wiley and at the Mac and over in Williamson. I mean, it's not just about here, it's about outside.
It's about the region, really.
It really is. And you'll hear there's some things coming down the road. I had a great meeting with Judy Patton, my counter. She's the chairman woman for the county tourism, and myself. We had a meeting with Tony Tackett and on Tuesday. I'm trying to think of what day it was. And we've got some plans in working together on some projects coming down the road that I'm really excited about. So you're going to see some great things happening above and beyond what you see right now.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Hatfield-McCoy project in just a little bit. We sat in on a town hall forum with the Southeast Chamber this past week. That was a phenomenal event. We'll talk about that coming up. What I want to talk about right now is something that you mentioned earlier with the water that we've had, stormwater and open ditch permits that you need to have for this. A lot of people are not aware.
Well, it's actually a twofold issue, and this is what happens in this. It happens almost every year that I've been doing this, and I think it's a good opportunity to educate the public to what responsibilities they have as well. Because what happens is that we typically go through a dry spell like this, and we still cut our grass. Those grass clippings end up in the street, or they sit on your lawn. If you don't have a mulcher, especially. And then we get a rain event, and all those grass clippings from all those lawns end up in the storm, and they go down to wherever the drain is. And what happens time and time again is whenever you have a significant, a hard rain, in other words, all of those clippings emerge at one time. They're scattered everywhere until it rains, and then they merge. And then what happens is they clog up the drain. When the drain clogs up, then ultimately somebody gets flooded.
Right.
And so that's one issue, and I'll come back to that in a second. The other issue is open ditches. A lot of folks, to your point, if you are doing ditch work or any type of building, you're required to have a permit. And there are certain guidelines to the Division of Water and the City of Pikeville also that you're required to follow. However, if someone elects to put an open ditch in their yard, or more importantly, if they elect to try to cover that ditch with a drain tile, and a lot of people want to do that. You have an open ditch and you put a drain tile in so you can get additional land. A a lot of those drain tiles are not permitted, and there's a reason they're not permitted. It's not from the standpoint that the city or the state is trying to be harsh with somebody. It's permitted to prevent you from taking on a liability, because as soon as you put those drain tiles in, regardless of whether you have a permit or not, you're assuming a liability. What happens in a significant event, and what is typically known as a storm event, you may have a 20-year storm event, a 50-year storm event, or a 100-year storm event. And we've had each since I've been in here. And what that means is that if you have a 50-year storm event, it means that event was so powerful and it rained so hard that it hadn't occurred within 50 years. So it took 50 years to catch up to that much of an event. So when you have a significant event like that, again, what happens is that we're in the mountain region, that all that storm water comes off the hills, and it merges into these open ditches. Well, if the ditch is open, it has a place to go, typically, unless it's a really significant event, and then that's flash flooding. But if you have a drain tile, what happens is now you're taking an open ditch and you're shrinking it into that little area. Well, the water, the hydraulics doesn't flow fast enough, and the water ends up backing up, and again, flooding takes place. So there is questions as up to whose responsibility is that, and we've had numerous issues where people have called and saying, well, I've either had a permit or I put it in and I didn't get flooded. And that's typically what happens, is the person that put it in didn't get flooded. It's the person above them that got flooded. Mm-hmm. Well, when a person does that, they take on that liability, and that ends up in a civil suit. We get calls frequently asking whether or not that the city, what the city is going to do, or how we're going to come in and enforce, and if we're going to require them to pull those drain tiles up. And the answer is no, we don't have that authority to do that. So what happens is we have to defer them and explain that it's a civil issue and they need to get an attorney. And take action against their neighbor. And nobody likes to take action against their neighbor, but it is an issue. And more people, and we have drain tiles, quite honestly, that people have put in and they build over top of, which again isn't permitted. Wow. But people will do that, and it's a vast area, not just in the city and in the county. We don't always catch everybody that may not understand the law, may not, and that's why that we have the building permit system that it is.
So now, if a person has a question about that, who do they contact? Because I don't think I would know who to contact if I were wanting to ask that question.
That's a very good question. You would contact Robert Smith, who is the city's building code enforcement officer. Robert has all the laws and can work with you through Division of Water. And there is some things that are outside our scope that we refer to on the state, also that you may have to be required to file a permit through the state as well. But it is very important that before you do that type of work in the community, that at least to your point, you inquire, because again, what we don't want somebody having to do is take on a liability that they weren't aware of, and that's a lot of times it's just ignorance. It's nothing wrong with ignorance. Ignorance is just something you haven't been taught.
Right.
So once we educate people and explain to them what they're taking on, then they understand usually. But when those events happen, it is people need to understand that it's going to fall back on them.
Right. I would have never thought that.
Well, you would be surprised at how many times it happens.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. But that's great information. And that's why we do this show, to educate people on things just like that they may not know, and direct them to the right person.
Absolutely.
Something else that we've talked about many, many times on this show, and has been very vocal in the last few weeks, things that we're hearing, is the commercial air service, or the possibility of commercial air service at our airport here in Pike County.
Yes. And I'll try to be as brief as I can, because there's been a lot of things written in the paper. This is an ongoing saga in a sense. And I wanted to clear a few things, or at least have a minute just to make a couple of comments. One is Commissioner Barry Cheney and the Bill Hickman, who is a local attorney who is the chairman of the airport board. They had their update last week on Pike TV, and they spoke of a lot of different issues. But with that said, I just wanted to I guess have my input as well, in that we are working diligently with the county, and the lines of communication are open. And I think the judge said it very well the other day. We don't necessarily always see eye to eye on everything. It doesn't mean that we disagree. We vary in what our opinions are.
Right.
And a lot of times the way you get around those is you come together and you have meetings and you discuss what the issues are and what the facts are, and you try to come to a resolution as up to what action that needs to be taken. And that's what's going on currently with the airport. Commercial air service that everybody's reading about in the paper. It is the county judge has said time and time again that he is in favor of commercial air service, and we've got I have a great working relationship with the judge. We talk, again, he'll tell you we don't see 100% eye to eye on everything, or between the city commission and the fiscal court, but that's what this process is there for. it is, that's why you have different elected officials. If everybody's thought the same and did the same, then we need one person, and
right.
that would be a dictatorship in a sense. But that's not what our system is about. So we are diligently working with the fiscal court, the airport board, the chamber. We had a great meeting this past Tuesday where we sat down and each party explained theirself in full. I think there was a lot of education on both ends. But I think it's important for the community to understand what the intent of this is, and from our perspective. And again, I understand the county understands this. It's not that they're opposed to it. I want that set up front. But I think some of the points that were made during the last taping and what we have come across in working with the judge and the fiscal court is that we're pursuing multi-county coal severance in order to pursue commercial air service, as you know. We currently have a $750,000 grant to look at commercial air service, and what the intent is there's a provider that, again, there's controversy around why the name isn't being mentioned, and it's quite simple. It's that because it's an economic development issue. The provider does not want their name mentioned, and if their name is mentioned, in fear of, candidly speaking, they're doing their due diligence. We talked about no different than what retail is. They don't want to do all the due diligence and then somebody else come in and take the market away from them. But I can say that that this is a reputable company. It's a company that's tied, again, through contract with a national brand that you would, if you're looking for a flight, you get online, that name would pop up. And the intent, again, is to go after multi-county money. The reason for multi-county money is that money is basically the governor's discretionary fund. And if we do not put in an application for something like commercial air service that would benefit the region, then the possibility of that money, and the probability really of that money going to a non-coal producing county or somewhere else to compete against Pike County is very great. You don't get the money if you don't put an application in.
Right.
We have put an application in. The county also has an application in on a different project. And what our position is that instead of using the airport's money, let's use multi-county money for the 2-year period, and if it doesn't work in 2 years, we can always abandon. We're not going to be asking the county or the city or any other entity to put their money up. The concern is that if we use the airport money as a subsidy instead of the multi-county money, understand the difference is that multi-county money is, if we don't use it, is still there, but it's going somewhere else. The airport money belongs to the city and the county. If we use the airport money and again, after 2 years that the service doesn't work, then we're out $1 million of our own money. And then when that happens, that the airport would be coming back looking for additional subsidies. And it's not an argument at all. It's just states of fact and states of opinion on both sides, both the concerns with the county. But I think, again, in respect with the fiscal court, I think it was said best at the meeting on Tuesday by Magistrate Anderson, who said, Jeff said, Donovan, put yourself in our position that there's a lot of facts, and we need to do our due diligence before and have our questions answered before that we're going to go out and support $1 million decision, regardless of whether it's multi-county or in-county. We just want to know what the facts are and that we can make a good decision based upon being informed. So that's what the Tuesday meeting was all about. We hope that soon on the fiscal court's next meeting that Luke Schmidt, who is our expert in the field, will be coming and doing a presentation for the magistrates in hopes that we can answer any additional questions that they may have. But this is a project that's being supported on a national level, on a local level, and then on a state level by everyone from the governor's office to our legislators to our Congressman Rogers and Senator Paul and Senator McConnell. So anyway, you're going to be hearing more about it, but I did want the facts out there that we are working with the county. Again, we're telling them our points, or telling them their points, and we'll come together and do what's in the best interest of the citizens of Pike County.
So personally speaking, let me just ask you, we've heard a lot of talk about it. It would be a wonderful thing. Do you really think that this is going to happen?
I have high hopes that it will happen, okay, Jill, and I think after the meeting I ran into Magistrate Anderson in the hall, and he said it was I agree with him. He said, Donovan, it was a great meeting. The facts, we weren't aware of the facts as they were presented today. We had a 2-hour very open discussion on the facts. Now, it all comes down to 2 issues. One is that the project cannot move forward unless the resolution by the fiscal court is adopted. That's the bottom line. Point. It's the big sticking point. if the fiscal court adopts the resolution and they move forward, then the next sticking point is that we still have to have the governor bless the grant and approve it. So even if the fiscal court approves the grant, we still have to get the governor's office to accept the grant. Now, there's 30 applications in right now at DLG. So it is a competitive grant. But with that said, I looked at the applications this past week, and I think if the governor really looks at something that would enhance a regional approach, and that's what multi-county money is supposed to be, is something that addresses a regional concern, which is another good point. Another point of understanding is what multi-county money is for. Multi-county money cannot be used as single county money is. And that's why it takes 2 fiscal courts to approve it. Usually multi-county money is a regional project. It's something that benefits the region. So the question had come up recently, well, why can't we use it for things like sewer line or water lines here in a neighborhood? And that's, again, back to what multi-county is. You can't use multi-county for that. Now, realistically, the legislators can override it and they can put multi-county in for whatever they want. But you've got to get the whole state legislature assembly to agree to do this one project, and typically that doesn't happen. But again, so that's what single county money is used for. So there's a distinction between single county and multi-county funds. And when I look at all the projects that multi-county is being solicited for, ours is one of the very few truly regional projects. There is several on the sheet. I'm not going to say that there's not, but it is a good project. I have high hopes if the fiscal court agrees to move forward in adoption of the resolution. If they don't, then we'll certainly respect their position. But if it does move forward, then the next step is the governor's office. But we have met with the governor's staff. We've met with the Secretary of Economic Development, and they're very supportive of this project. So hopefully that's a good indication that they would approve it.
Yeah, something we'll continue to talk about in the coming weeks, no doubt.
Yes, absolutely.
We're going to change gears just a little bit to talk about something that we have, the last couple times that we have met, have discussed in great detail, and today is going to be no different. I mentioned the fact that we were at a meeting Tuesday night, a town hall forum put on by the Southeast Chamber to talk about the Hatfield-McCoy situation, how our areas, both the city and the county, can capitalize on the economic growth that this will bring to our area, the rejuvenation of all the interest that has been put. We're going to talk about that at pretty good length today. You have some information for us. I thought it was a fantastic meeting the other night. Lovely to see Reed Potter's presentation. Absolutely loved it. All of the inaccuracies and the accuracies that were portrayed in the miniseries. But the fact that we have really come together and we have all of these places to visit now that have been taken care of in a very short order, that people can go visit, the driving tour, so many different things. I'm just going to let you start, and we'll discuss as we go.
Well, and I guess that's the point. Where do you start? And what I have done today is I put together a PowerPoint because I've been all over the board with this thing. It is so vast and so
There's
important.
So much information.
Oh, Jill, there really is, and everybody is fascinated by it, and what I think it will do and how I believe it will continue is that, and we need to work for that to benefit our region, and that's what the Chamber's event was in regard to Tuesday. Now, before I get into tourism and my PowerPoint, one thing I want to set the record straight on, if you don't mind, is that a year or so ago, there was a tremendous amount of press about the city and the county tourism, which was the Pikeville City County Tourism Commission. We split, and the city created our own tourism commission. The purpose for that wasn't because we were mad at the county, or wasn't because that the representatives that are on the tourism commission are all great people, and they're very, very good friends of mine. And I have said that over the year, that the reason that we split was basically the same thing that we're talking about with the Air Service. Is sometimes you have difference of opinions on where you need to put emphasis. The county city tourism at that time had worked very hard on several projects, and they had projects in the pipeline, and they basically their position is that we don't need to reduce our revenue. We actually need more revenue so we can pursue to bring more people in our community, which we understood and fully supported. The commission in the city's position is that we needed to support the Expo Center because it is the largest catalyst for tourism within the region. So, and again, their tourism commission agreed, the city commission agreed. The problem is how did you get there from here?
Right.
So we found, in essence, a way to make that happen to where everybody was satisfied. And by doing the split and creating a resolution, what we did ultimately is we created a tourism commission, which is a great thing. The benefit of that is that you have to understand a tourism commission is not an elected body, it's an appointed body. So you get representatives from our community, from all walks of life, that is able to sit down at a table and share ideas with government and where we need to go. So quite honestly, instead of having 7, we now have 14 people, which is a great thing in coming up with ideals and sharing experiences and looking at ways that how we can improve the overall quality of life and address our tourism needs. So that's what happened a year ago. In that year's time, we have worked very well together, and I guess that's the point that I'm trying to make is that county tourism and the city tourism has come together on numerous events, numerous attractions, and have really worked hard bringing Pike County and Pikeville forward. Recently, there was the Hatfield and McCoy issue that came up, and I'm going to go through these slides. I think I got 30 slides. I'll try to get through fairly quick to kind of show people what's going on. But during this presentation of Hatfield and McCoy, we started having meetings, direct meetings, and with county tourism, and saying what can we do to get the most out of our dollar, basically. And the suggestion that I made was, and there was some confusion about it, which is what I'm trying. This long story where I'm trying to get to, is what I suggested is that instead of splitting our efforts, let's merge our efforts and let's work instead of just working together, which is what we have been doing. Let's form a partnership. Mm-hmm. And through that partnership, there was some misinterpretation of that, I think, in the public and in the press, were you saying that you were going to merge your boards back together? And that's not the case. And legally, it can't be the case because of the way that we have our restaurant tax and the bed tax set up. So we can't do it legally. In a form in order to do what we need to do in order to provide funding sources for both entities. Now, so what we've talked about is forming a partnership, and through that partnership, I met with their tourism director Tony Tackett this past Tuesday, and with their chairman Judy Patton. We had again another phenomenal meeting. It's been probably the 4th meeting I've had with Tony over the last couple of weeks. I serve a dual role. I'm also the chairman for the City Tourism Commission. So we came together to talk about our partnership. And what we've decided to do, and backing up, the City's Tourism Commission has decided to do, and in principle, their chairman and several of their members have decided to do on the county side, but they've still got to have their meeting to officially agree to this, is that we will be closing the city's tourism office. Now, when I say closing, we are located in the East Kentucky Expo Center. And when I say duplicating of services, the thought is why did we need to have a tourism office over here and a tourism office over here? Why don't we just use one tourism office? We're not confusing the people that are coming to Pike County. And so we don't have to print brochures for over here and brochures for over there. If you had one central location that would promote both the city and the county events, which we do anyway, then it would be a win-win. And then what we can in turn do is to take that staff that we put on a desk or put in duplicating services, and instead use that staff and put them in a tour bus or put them out on the tour sites, mm-hmm. so that we're not spending any more taxpayers' dollars, but we're getting the biggest bang for our buck. So that's where we're heading, and that's where I think some of the confusion came in. Is you're closing tourism? No, we still will have the city tourism, and actually what we decided to do at our Tuesday's meeting is maybe once a quarter is to bring both tourism boards together and have one meeting. So mm-hmm. you'll have two different meetings under one roof and talking about what we need to do, again, to advance Pikeville and Pike County forward. So that's where we're heading. The other part of this is, and you'll see during these slides that we'll go through, is that we're working on these tours, actually having McCoy tour sites together. The City Commission stepped up as they did again when I came and said I'd like to buy a bus. Because county tourism was doing a great job. They had a 16-passenger van. My wife and I went on their tour, but the problem was trying to get everybody in that van that wanted to go on the tour. It was uncomfortable. You couldn't hear all the air conditioning. So we wanted to go out, and if we're going to really get into this business, let's get into this. Simultaneously, we have changed our cut-through water trail is now the Hatfield McCoy River Trail system, and the bus that we use there had some problems. It actually went down 2 weekends straight. So this bus that we bought is serving a dual role, which we'll go through here in just a second. So that's kind of where we're, again, I know I went a long way around because there's been a lot of publicity on this. And I want to make sure folks knew that we've got a great relationship with the county tourism. We're working hand in hand to better our region. I'm excited about the new meetings and bringing our boards together. I'm excited about this new partnership and as you will see here in just a second, there's a lot of excitement.
There is a lot of excitement for sure. So let's get to the slides that you have. We will discuss at length many of them.
Well,
so pretty.
I came under the heading that tourism, our future is bright, and if you can see, that's the city's tourism logo and the Pike County tourism logo, and how we're working together. And as I just mentioned, we have currently Cut Through Adventures, and Cut Through Adventures does several things for the county and the city and the region in bringing in tourists. We have groups of 150 frequently that come from different parts of the country in, and we do various floats with them. We have kayaking, we have canoeing, and we also have the tubes that we can. Now, what we do, and you can see the difference. The left-hand side of the screen is the Cut Through Adventures brochure. The right-hand side of the screen is a new logo that we've come up with, again, with the Half-Moon-McCoy River Trail. As I just mentioned, the River Trails does several things, which is now labeled the Half-Moon-McCoy Water Trails. When we first started this program, Jill, back 3 years ago, it used to be the Half-Moon-McCoy River Rats. And then we went under a different name because we had a different ownership, going to the Cut Through Adventures, and now we're back to the Half-Moon-McCoy. But we do have rental equipment, kayaks, canoes, and tubes. They're very affordable. We have recently been labeled by the state of Kentucky under the Fish and Wildlife, and I gave you a story before we started that the Leviza Fork of the Big Sandy, where we're doing these trails, has been labeled as a Kentucky Blue Water Trail. The benefit of that is that we will be featured under in Fish and Wildlife in their magazine. There is a new press release that just came out that the public will soon see. Will be featured in their magazine. But one comment that I'll make towards this is also that that the gentleman that came down through Fish and Wildlife, and I think it's a very important point, had talked about our infrastructure and the quality and the cleanliness of our river. Now, I bring that up because a lot of the species of fish that are in our river, and it's some of the best fishing that you'll experience in the area. And there's a lot of people doing floats, catching several varieties of smallmouth, largemouth, and several other varieties fish out of this river. Now, what he also noted was that there were certain species of fish in the river that does not live without a very clean environment, and there's numerous rivers throughout the state that these fish will not live in, and that he was really amazed at how clean the water quality was, because these fish will not survive and don't survive in other regions throughout the state of Kentucky because their waters are not as clean as what ours are. Now, I bring that up because of the mining industry and a lot of the hoopla that's been around. So I think a point is, and I won't go into all that, but there was obviously the EPA had a recent event here. But I guess the point that I'm making is that the Fish and Wildlife has come down, looked at our water quality, and has told me that we have some of the best water quality throughout the state, which I think is ironic based upon what is the EPA is trying to tell us. So
I
anyway.
couldn't agree more. But that's a totally different show.
Yeah, we could spend another hour on that.
We could.
And then again, one of the things that the city is doing is we will become a stocking kayak dealer. Walmart currently sells kayaks. The problem is, and Tim does a great job down there. They work with us hand in hand on many projects. Problem is that they get 2 or 3 in, and I grew up in the retail field. They sell them the day that they get them in. People are really getting enthused about this. One of the comments that was made by the Fish and Wildlife gentleman that came and visited our tourism commission meeting last week, that there was over 300,000 kayaks, I think, sold in the state of Kentucky last year alone. So it's a big business, something that's really catching on, and it's that we want to make sure that we are taking part of, because it flows into the next issue with the bus. The way the bus is going to be utilized is it's going to be utilized as both a shuttle bus for the kayaking service and then as the tours. So anybody that owns a kayak, or if you wish to rent a kayak, all you have to do is you have to go to Texas, right behind Texas Roadhouse, park your vehicle, bring your kayak with you, or if you don't have one, we'll rent you one. But if you have a kayak, you take it off your vehicle, you put it on. We have a trailer that we actually have ordered. It's a 16-passenger bus. We have a trailer that will pull 16 kayaks or canoes. You load your kayak up on the trailer. We'll take you to one of 4 drop-off points, whether you want a 4-hour float, a 2-hour float, or a 3-hour float. And we'll drop you off at no cost. Doesn't cost you a dime. So if you'll show up between the hours on Friday, Saturday, Sunday at 12, 2, or 4, bring your kayak with you. We'll load you up, drop you off, and then when you end your trip, you're back at your vehicle. So it's a great way to experience the river. We've talked about how fun it is going through the cut through, but it's a great, it is a lot of great fun, but it's a great service we're offering as well.
Well, the thing about it is too is that you were talking about the stocking of the kayaks. That's a fairly inexpensive activity to have, because the river's free. And the kayaks are not that expensive.
That's a great point. Our price point right now ranges between $189 and $250 a kayak, so they're very inexpensive.
And once you start using it, you will continue to use it.
And it's great, absolutely, as we've talked about before, it's great exercise. Once you've gone kayaking, you've gone kayaking.
Yeah, you can make no mistake about that. But it is, and it's a wonderful opportunity for people to get their kids on the river.
Absolutely.
It's a safe thing for them to do, depending on the kayak that you have, and most of them are fairly large. You can get 2 people if you'd like, or 1. But it's just a good time.
It is, and part of the service is when you're on the bus, there's a training video and then a release form, because when we drop you off, you're on your own.
Right.
Now, if you want a guided tour, we offer that service as well. And as I said, as we go forward, part of our partnership is that we will soon. We're looking at a couple of sites right now for either the kayaking tour or for the Hatfield and McCoy driving tour. You'll be able to go online and do a booking online using a credit card, or you can stop in the county tourism office, which is located in the Hampton Inn. You'll be able to stop in there and pay for the tour a couple days prior to the tour. If you want to book them out as far as a month in advance, you'll be able to do all that. Currently, I've got on the board, this is our old bus, and as you can see, it's not.
But it looks like the best fun, though. It's one of those unique vehicles.
It was very unique, and that's part of the reason that we bought it is that. People notice it, and it served a purpose, but it's seen its better days.
Yeah.
I will add that, and I can't remember the date. I'm going to shoot myself for this. I think it's the 19th. Anyway, it's towards the middle of this month. You can get on the city's website and find out. But we are having the annual city surplus auction. We do that once a year. We sell off everything that we have as surplus through a bidding process. Old Nellie here, the bus will be in that surplus. So if somebody has an interest, you can own this bus. It can be yours.
This one looks just a bit better.
A little bit better.
A little bit safer.
And safer and nicer and comfortable. It does.
Cooler.
It is definitely air conditioned front and back. It has a TV screen, a speaker system. In the very back of the bus in the lower left-hand corner, it's got a storage compartment. We actually, at the tourism office, we have, and actually last night, 4th of July event, we have new shirts and some things that you can buy. The county has a great shirt that you can buy. Again, County Tourism, we're going to be bringing our shirts over and see if they'll want to sell those as well. But we've come up with a little bit different theme. I think I've got some pictures of them here in a second. We've got a picture of the pig, and we've had a little bit of some play.
The pig is my favorite new souvenir. I love it.
I understand we presented you with one, or a shirt, at least a shirt last night.
A shirt and a cap.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't got the pig yet.
Well, we'll get you a pig also. And the pig is cute because it has Randolph McCoy and Floyd Hatfield's name on it. And it's got Floyd, it says Hatfield, or it's got Randolph's name X'd off, and it says Floyd's pig. So it's a cute little play on words.
It is nice.
And again, what we've got up on the screen is the county's website, and as you can see, they're featuring the Hatfield and McCoy guided tours. I will add, Jill, if you've not been on, and anybody listening to this, listen to me right now. If you've not been on this tour, I urge you to do so. Sign up, get a hold of County Tourism Office. It is a blast. It's a 2-hour tour, guided tour. We put you on the bus. You get water. You'll stay cool. We'll let you out at different points, get you back on the bus to cool down again. But Reed Potter has done these. If you've not watched on the History Channel the documentary where he was a featured historian along with several other historians, so he's been aired. He is taking Sean Cochran with the city and Jesse Bowling with the city. They will be conducting the tours going forward on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're probably going to play around with the time frames, but right now I think the tour on Fridays is done at 6, at Saturdays at 9, and Sundays at 6 in the evening. So we're doing a morning, an evening, a morning, and an evening to give everybody the full gamut. These tours fill up fast. There's not been a tour yet that they haven't done that's not been full. What's happening is people are coming in on the weekends from all over the country. You would not believe at the amount of people that are coming down to tour. So my suggestion for the local folks is if you really want to learn, to your point, the true history of what took place during this era, because the miniseries was a drama, as it was mentioned the other night. There's a lot of missed facts in there, and they did it to play to the screen, which is understandable.
And that's what Hollywood does.
That's what they do. But there's a lot of interesting facts that belong to our heritage. My 4th great grandfather is McCoy, was the brother of Randall's and Sarah's dads, which they were first cousins, their brother was my fourth great grandfather. So growing up and knowing a lot of the feud, as I mentioned earlier, is important to our history and our culture. So if you haven't taken this tour, please do so, and I'll show you some of the things that you're going to see.
Well, I think is a great idea. With school getting ready to come back in session next month, I can't imagine that there will not be an onslaught of classrooms,
yes,
teachers that are wanting their kids to take this tour as a part of Kentucky history and a part especially of Pikeville and Pike County history.
Well, you're absolutely correct. We've already been contacted by some of these groups, some church groups. We've had, again, a lot of people from out of town. And one thing that I failed to mention is that this, as I said, the county is gracious enough to where they're using their staff to promote this, their tourism site. This is a city's tourism site that's up, I'm showing you right now. Both our city tourism site and the one on the bottom is our city tour, or I'm sorry, the top is the city's website, the bottom is city tourism site. But the city, though we're providing the bus, we're providing the personnel, we are not taking any of the money from the tours. What we're doing is we're taking the dollars that we raised and we're giving that back to the county tourism office, who has this phenomenal statue that they're wanting to develop that they've had on a drawing plat for about 10 years now. So all proceeds will go to the creation of the statue, which we'll be very proud to showcase. So again,
I actually saw that the other night, the drawing of that, and it is a beautiful statue. Will be beautiful, no doubt.
It really is. It's a great concept. And again, I mentioned we're working with. I'm looking at two different websites right now, which is Eventbrite and Reserve 123, at looking at doing our bookings online, so that you can go on and look at a date.
So you go to that website, type, I guess, in the search bar what you want, and it will take you where you need to be.
There'll be a link on the city's and the county's website that will take you there
to Eventbrite.
And you'll be able to pay by credit card, or you can again stop in the office and get there. Now again, we're working with county tourism getting these details worked out. The other thing, again, this is a picture of the county tourism office, which if you haven't been in their office, it's located again on the first floor of the Hampton Inn. You'll notice in this picture they're absolutely booked. They're having, again, 100 people a day that's coming through the tourism office from out of town. I think they've said they've got all 48 states, lower 48 states that's been represented. If you look at their sign-in book, as you look through the left-hand door, it is phenomenal, the names.
Yeah, that's what Tony was talking about the other night. He
Yes.
said, just stop by and look at it. You will be amazed at the number of people, countries even, that are coming here. I'm not talking about just like Canada. I'm talking about completely different countries.
And I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon.
I don't either.
There is some concern that says, well, we're into the hoopla right now and we're investing in something that's going to fizzle out. I don't believe so. And the reason I don't believe so is because Hollywood is looking at least 2 or 3 other productions. I know a local family over in the Williamson area, Matewan area, that has been approached. They're doing the reality show that they just did. So there is going to be several other things that comes out of this over the next year or so. So and then again the series that they're going to have on this fall. So the interest will still be there. This gives us the ability of telling our story as well. The other thing that the county has, which on the lower right hand corner of the screen, is the driving tour. Again, the tour that we have now in the city takes you to all the points in the city of Pikeville. It's a 2-hour tour, and I'll show you some of these sites. It takes you to a lot of the grave sites, a lot of the historical homes and things, and it tells a great story. But there are a big part of this out in the county also, and what the county tourism office also offers a driving tour, and that's what my wife and I did. We took the 2-hour driving tour with a historian telling us all about the feud, and then we put the CD in the car and we did the driving tour, which took us about 3 hours. We went all the way into Matewan, West Virginia, all the way into the Phelps area. I mean, it's a great trip. It's great to see the Paw Paw side and the place where the pig trial took place, and and recently Hillman Dotson they uncovered where Bad Frank was buried, and Nancy. And if you've seen the work, I mean, I applaud Hillman. He's done a great job getting in there, getting all that site cleaned up, and it should be ready in about a week or so. So again, a lot of history. And I think I've already covered everything that I've got up on the screen now. But again, Reed is doing training Jesse and Sean right now. Pike TV, by the way, we're working with Al and his staff on a new documentary. Again, as you said, a lot of what was told from a Hollywood side. What we want to do is really give a good account of a lot of what Reed was talking about. He did a very fast version, about a 40-minute version the other night. But the intent is to try to use some local historians and really put something together that we can use as part of actually the driving tour as well. Let's see. This is some of the changes that you'll see. One of the things that we're trying to do that I commend our partnership with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. We worked with Gene Lane in creating signs of, if you look in the upper left-hand corner up on 23. The intent is as these people are coming into our community, we want to make sure that they know where to go. But the lower left-hand corner is across the street from the Hampton Inn, directing them over to the office, because the office actually looks like part of the hotel, so you'll miss it. And then again, over at the fire department, showing people where to park. We've got a new gazebo that we bought, City Tourism did.
I saw this the other day. Very nice.
It's a nice place to cool off, to sit before you cross to the cemetery. The county stocks it with brochures, so you get a copy of the brochures as well. If you go up to the actual gravesite, and this is where Randolph and Sarah is buried, we put up the fire department, which you see a couple of members of the fire department there. They put this fence up there on a couple of the other sites. And if you look on the right-hand corner, once people were getting up to the cemeteries, they didn't know where, because there's so many graves up there. Mm-hmm. And I would add too, again, from a historical standpoint, visit this cemetery, because it has it's a lot of history involved in it. And we're going to come out with some additional things as part of the tour. But again, it's the first I can't get the word out, graded. To where integrated.
Integrated.
Thank you. To where, again, you had minorities and whites were the first in Eastern Kentucky Cemetery during the Civil War era. But there is a lot of, again, we've got markers up as well.
Yeah, and Colonel John Dills,
yes,
the Dills Cemetery is what it is. He's
Thank
also
you.
buried there and has a fantastic monument.
Absolutely
there.
Gorgeous monument, and a big part of the Hatfield-McCoy feud that wasn't portrayed.
Did not know a lot about that until Reed Potter informed me the other night during his presentation. Again, if you haven't seen the documentary or been able to see that presentation, you need to do that too.
And again, this is the Klein Cemetery. If you've not been there, it's across the street from Elliott's up on the hill up on Mount Martha.
The last time we spoke, you had told me you didn't even know where it was. Nobody did until somebody said, oh, by the way, this is there. Very small little itty-bitty road getting up there at Mount Martha Drive, named for his wife.
Absolutely.
Learned that in our session the other night.
It is, and of course the right-hand column is Perry Klein's monument. This is the original monument, and if you look in the upper right-hand corner, it also has a Masonic emblem. So it is an absolutely beautiful marker, but this is a very unique cemetery. It's getting a lot of traffic. We've done some upgrades to it with putting some steps in, some handrail to get it's a little easier to get down to. So again, some additional improvements.
Hadn't really been visited that much, with the exception of a few members of the Klein family. Since the 1970s, I understand. So it took a little bit to get it cleaned off, but did not take any time to get that taken care of.
Well, and I'm glad you said that, because I forgot. If you notice, Westcare's name's in the middle of the screen. The reason I put Westcare's name in there is that we formed a partnership with Westcare. We do a lot of work with Westcare, and that's a great organization. Does a lot of good for the community. But we give them a grant each year. We increase that grant. And in return, what they've agreed to do is to keep the cemetery clean. So they're using their staff from over at Ash Camp to come over and actually to cut the cemetery and to clean it up, because, again, there's a lot of Civil War era graves up there as well. Of course, in the rest of these slides I'll go through fairly quickly, but this is a courthouse, and again, there is monument markers, because this is where the famous trial took place for the family members in Cotton Top. Again, Randall McCoy's home place is down where Cherrico's is. And this was actually during Reed's tour. The people that are there in the picture are from over in Logan County. They bought their T-shirts from the county tourism. Were wearing them along the tour, so it was pretty cool. The feudus up at the College upon Kentucky Avenue is where, again, Cotton Top was hung. Ellis Mounts was hung, the hanging site, so they take you there. The fire department is where you go when you park. We've got parking signs up now. All those vehicles that you see in the bottom left, I took two different pictures. The right-hand side and left-hand side were all there during one day. Every car there was not from Kentucky. Not one of those vehicles was from Kentucky.
Isn't that amazing?
This is what the cemeteries looks like on a weekend now.
Wow.
So there are people everywhere up there roaming around. This was weekend before last. You'll notice in the middle of the screen there's also it says Dills Cemetery, a marker that tells you the history. So there's a couple of placards up there that will help educate you. Another interesting fact is that this is the way we're finding the black signs you see throughout the city. You'll notice that we'll say the Hatfield-McCoy Cemetery. Now, this is not the Hatfield-McCoy Cemetery. I want to make that clear. It's the Dills Cemetery. But for name recognition, people come to town, they don't know what the Dills Cemetery is, so we're trying to direct them to the Hatfield-McCoy. Well, one of the comments is why you call it the Hatfield-McCoy Cemetery when there's not a Hatfield up there. This is really where the McCoys are, and that's not true. There's actually a Hatfields buried up there also. The great-grandson of the gentleman that was the foreman for the hog trial, his great-grandson is actually buried not too far from where Randall's buried. And again, pictures of the grave. And you can see the kids, and these are the stairs leading across. That's actually my wife in the bottom right-hand corner. We were on the tours. One of the kids she was playing around with on the tour. So, you know, we just had a ball there participating with all the people that came. And again, the marker. This is the roadway crossing over this. I will make, this is what I call the Frogger intersection. We have a great partnership with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet to where we went back and worked with them. And if you'll notice, the previous picture it is not striped. The new picture, there is now a stripe, and the city bought the yield signs. So those yield signs are special made to where they actually have flashing emblems. So if you go through Cloy, you're going to see them. They're going to get your attention.
That's
now.
a heavily, heavily traveled stretch of roadway.
It really is. And as I said, when I was there a couple weekends ago, some dummy almost got ran over. Somebody stepped in front of a car. The car actually had to swerve into the other lane and came very, very close to getting hit. And I'll be candid with you, that dummy was me. So that's the same.
And you should know better.
And what happened, I was reading the placard and didn't realize I was in the road, and next thing I know, there's a car getting, so I got took out. Again, this is the famous over in the Belfry area, going towards Phelps, the election fight, where the election fight took place, where the hog trial took place, and this is the replica where they rebuilt of the cabin there. So it's great sites. Over at the Paw Paw site, also, as you're going over, going towards Matewan, you can go. The county's done a great job. It's a really beautiful little flat. You can overlook the river there where the crossing is. So again,
it's right next to the river too. That's interesting.
It is. And of course, this is over in Williamson, and they've, one of the things that I will commend, Williamson's doing a good job, really good job, showcasing the Hatfield and McCoy doing tours. But the thing I really commend the Pike County Tourism Commission on is what all that they have done to really highlight all these sites. That was the only marker I could find on the West Virginia side.
Really?
Out of all the sites, yes. Now they have.
Now, where is that located at?
It's actually over in Matewan. As soon as you go across the bridge, you take a right, and it's located right straight across. It's not down in the little city area where all the buildings.
It's right
across
the
bridge there.
Okay.
Again, the Heritage Center is now open. It's always been open, but Everett was part of our panel the other day. Everett does a great job. He's a great historian, so they can tell. And again, I talked about our new logos and our new T-shirts. These are copies of the T-shirts that we now will have online for sale.
Yeah, they're great. I actually was presented with 2 of those last night, one in a blue color and a pink color, and then I have my official hat.
So you're ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Well, and this is the end of our point. Again, I just want to reiterate that the county and the city is working together. We are still a few things we're working on, which is our wayward finding signs and new parking over at the fire station markers. We're working on our weekend packages and doing our online booking websites that I mentioned.
Well, I think the great thing that you're doing too is still trying to find out more information from the historians and from the people who are relatives and descendants who do know the factual history of what exactly happened, and you're able to incorporate that into the tours and the different information that we have out as publications.
We are. We just this past week, there's been 2 or 3 things that we've learned about the feud site. One, where the Bear Law office is where Bad Frank's home was. We didn't read. They found this out last week. So there's 2 or 3 other things that just recently popped up that we're going to be able to add to our tour, along with a lot of other interesting facts. I got some information yesterday about the person that's the slave that served Stonewall Jackson's meal. So he's buried up at Dill Cemetery. Roger Ford sent that to me. So there's a lot of other things that we're going to be including as part of this historical tour. Garfield story. There's a lot of things. I'm just really Langley. I could go on and on. Really excited about this stuff.
This is the whole show that we could talk about, and eventually we will do that because there's so much information that we want to get out, and we always have such a short amount of time when we're here talking about these things. But what a great opportunity for our people in our area and the surrounding states and areas to come in and view what we have.
Well, it's amazing, and that's what the intent is. Is to increase tourism, to increase opportunity, to diversify our economy. Because we're just not relying. Obviously, the coal industry is under attack right now, and we need to find ways to create additional jobs and to secure a future. And I think, again, through working together and cooperation, we're able to do that.
One thing I want to touch on quickly, because we're just about to run out of time. This is a fantastic article that you showed me that people can actually read. Tell them where they can go find that.
You can get on the state of Kentucky. I think it's fnw.ky.gov. This is a gentleman by the name of Lee McClellan came down, and he wrote this great article. It's a pretty long article, but he just talks about the quality of our area. He talks about the streams. He talks about the cut-through project. So again, understanding that we have a trail program that has clean water, that has the largest the United States' largest earth-moving project as part of that trail, and has a lot of good fishing, and that has a lot of good infrastructure in place. And he mentions all this in this, so this is going to be something that we're going to be using as a marketing piece as well. It's a great story, so we urge people to get online and read about what we have in our area that you're missing.
fw.kentucky.gov is where you can find that article. Quickly, city's website, so we can highlight the events coming up in the city. We just have a very short time left because there are a lot of things going on.
www.visitpikeville.com is the tourism website, and www.cityofpikeville.com is the city's website.
Yes.
Log on, and that will also get you to the county's website as well, to where you can find all this neat information.
Muscle on Main, movie night in the park coming up, and at the Billy Johnson stage, refreshing.
Main Street Live.
Main Street Live.
Which is Blues.
I think Blues are next.
I think Blues is coming up. It's just amazing.
Lots going on. Well, we are out of time. Once again, it goes fast, doesn't it?
We go real fast at the very end, don't we?
We do. We go really fast. But Donovan, thanks so much. We'll meet again, and we'll discuss more fantastic things going on in the city.
Sounds great. Thanks,
Right.
Jill.
We'll see you next time.